Welcome to Reserve Basics. We're very excited about this series. It's brought to you by the Contract and Scheduling Department. Shout out to the chairs, Jeff and Marty. So again, welcome so much. We're super excited about this series that we're launching called Reserve Basics. I would like to introduce the reps that we have here that will be going over our little slideshow for you guys. So first up, my name's Jackie. I'm based in Philly. I'm a base rep there. I have been here for 9 years. And then next.
Hi, I'm KSA Rikaku. I am the Boston Vice President, and this is my 5th year of flying.
Hi, my name is Jay Chen. I am contract scheduling rep based in Dallas-Fort Worth, been flying for 12 years.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alba Toledo, and I am based in Miami. I have been flying 28 years, and I am also your Miami Vice President.
Cool. We got some heavy hitters here. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. So why we're here, we wanted to put this together. Full transparency, we have seen the company come after specifically reserves and new hires. And so what we're trying to do is kind of build this information network kind of to go over the basics that you might not have learned either in training or during your in-doc, and then hopefully lay a good foundation down to help you guys along the way in your reserve journey. If you are coming back to reserve after a few years, this could also be a great refresher just to have that information in your brain fresh when you're on the line as a reserve. So we're going to go over some company and APFA resources that are available to us. And we also want to, again, go over the reserve responsibilities to mitigate the potential disciplinary actions that the company is bringing forth so that we can mitigate those while we fight the company on the back end to make sure that that doesn't continue to happen, because we want you to be successful. So first up, we have Kea here. She's going to go over some APFA resources.
Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to start you guys off with my personal favorite resource, and you're going to hear me talk about this and glaze this website over and over and over and over again throughout this entire presentation. But the apfa.org website is going to be probably your most reliable resource, your most up-to-date resource, aside from your hotlines and your base briefs. And it is going to be the resource that has the most information for you guys. So starting off with the bidding tab, this has daily bidding, monthly bidding, information on ETB, vacation bidding, speaker bidding, and then a buffers tab as well. The tab that I want you all to focus on and familiarize yourselves with the most is going to be this on the job tab. Underneath, you're going to find this reserve resources tab. This tab is going to be your lifeline. This tab will be your best friend and your study guide for any questions you have going forward. 90% of them are going to be listed under this tab. Of course, there are other resources available to you and people that you can reach out and contact if you have extra questions. But this tab has information on golden days and flex days, your standbys, all of your information on Rota D. It's all there. And a really awesome thing about the website is that not only does it have the contractual verbiage with the quotes so you can reference your CBA, it also has the contractual language translated, is how I like to say it, because the language in the contract can be a little confusing, it can be a little convoluted at times, and the website does a phenomenal job at breaking it down into a more palatable way and makes it so it's just easier to understand, especially if you're not used to reading the contractual verbiage all the time. There's also a search bar. So if you are just thinking about questions you might have, you could search it in there and it will pull up all the hotlines, all the web pages that reference the word you're using, all that fun stuff. Under the on the job tab as well, I just want to shout out, there's also a rescheduling and legalities tab as well, I believe. Rescheduling legalities, what does it say? Right? Yeah. That is another really, really great tab because there is a reserve section on there for how you are able to be rescheduled specifically as a reserve. And I know a lot of people always have rescheduling questions. Is this legal? What are they doing to me? Help. And that tab is where you're going to find the answers to that. That tab will not tell you why they are doing it, though. Sometimes they just do it for fun, right? Oh, this is the form section of the website. Another very handy dandy section. This is where you're going to find things like your cabin ASAP form. Your hotel and transportation feedback is really important. That way our hotel department here at APFA can know what's going on at our different layover hotels, along with the NOD filing request form. So if you're ever having to file a grievance for anything because something happened, this is the section of the website that will refer you to start the grievance process. Okay, another big resource is obviously our contract. Right? This is also, believe it or not, you can find this on the apfa.org website underneath contract. And I like to point out, if you're a nerd like me, there's a copy of the contract, then there's a redlined version of the contract where you can look at all of the new things that were added to our contract that weren't there before. I've read both. Riveting stuff, guys. Personally, love it. Another way that you can get the contract is through your Comply 365 on your EFB. So when you're bored on the jump seat, you should probably be reading through your contract. At the end of the day, yes, the APFA website is perfect and amazing, and I love her, and she answers a majority of the questions you might have, but your contract is where all that information is coming from. And even if you might not completely understand it, being able to read through it, having read through it, one day you're going to be like, I feel like that doesn't sound right. Something in my head isn't sounding right. And then you can go back and refer it. And that foundation is where we really want you guys to start. That way you guys can advocate for yourselves as well. This is a QR code also for the contract. If you want it on your personal phone, I do suggest that you have it on literally everything. So, how to contact your base reps. Obviously, your base resources, your base reps, your base leadership, these are also resources available to you. This is going to be found on the APFA website under bases, and you're going to click the hyperlink to whatever place you're based at. Boston's first, because we're the coolest. Just kidding, it's alphabetical. But this is going to have your phone numbers and your emails for those base reps, and that's who you're going to reach out to for certain situations. Specifically things like meetings. Of course, we help with contractual questions, rescheduling questions as well. But when you're talking to managers, when you're CCing the company, that's going to go through your base representatives. And then here is contact information for a few other resources we have, including the contract and scheduling desk, which is Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Along with their live chat, which is specifically the contract scheduling live chat, also Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, and Fridays as well. And then the health and IOD desk, who have all your health and IOD needs, will be Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5. And then EAP, this is the phone number. 9 to 5? Oh, I was like, oh, am I wrong? Okay. EAP, here's the EAP number. This is also professional standards. So if you have professional standards needs, you can call that number. And then this is the resource as well. We lumped this in with EAP. This is Aetna for 24/7 assistance with a licensed counselor. Just so if anybody wants to take a screenshot, I suggest you do so of this slide. Okay, so the takeaway from my little spiel here is you don't have to know everything. We don't expect you to know everything. We just want you to know where to look so you can have the answer from a reliable source. We hear a lot of things on the line. We hear a lot of things on the internet. There have been a lot of contracts, a lot of different airline mergers, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different flight attendants. In order to make sure you are getting the correct, most accurate, up-to-date information, especially after all of our new contractual implementations, you're going to always want to check the website or reach out to an APFA rep so they can confirm that the information you have is accurate. Thanks.
Thank you, Kaya. All right, so let's talk about the systems that you already use, right? And let's start with Crew Portal. I know these are the basics, but now I'm going to talk to you based on what you know today as opposed to where you were at when you were at new hire training and in doc, right? It was a lot of information that was being thrown at you, a lot of acronyms. So it was like you're all like in a daze because there's so much information being thrown at you. So now we're going to talk about it again, and just so that maybe now you'll have a few more aha moments, because now things will start to make sense, right? Because now you've been on the job a little bit. Maybe most of you are, some of you are just finishing up probation. Some of you are still on that path of probation. So again, these are just the basics, and let's start with Crew Portal. So Crew Portal, we know this is the company or the in-flight version of all of our information that we need while we're at work, right? So I'm hoping that everybody has already basically clicked on every tab, every link on Crew Portal. We probably haven't. So if you haven't done that already, I probably suggest that you do that because there is a wealth of information. Remember, not only does APFA.org have info, but so does your Crew Portal. Even starting with the banner at the top that's always giving you, current things that are going on currently all over the system. So the other thing that we need to know about Crew Portal, we know that Crew Portal has our monthly schedule, right? But I will tell you, Crew Portal is basically a nice, pretty picture, right? Or pretty version of everything that we need, right? It's easy to read, it's quick to look at. And this was basically created back during FOI, okay? Now, everything that's on here, I wanna make sure that you've also looked at the FOSS screens. How many have actually looked at FOSS screens? Have you looked at FOSS screens section you have? Awesome, okay. So we're gonna talk about HI1s a little bit later because your HI1 has a lot of useful information that most of you don't even realize you probably should be looking at and getting into the habit at looking at consistently, okay? In addition, at the top of your Crew Portal, if you have not clicked on your name yet, just know when you click on your name or if you are on the mobile version of CCI and you click on the little person, that is where you're gonna find all of your manager information. Because, right, whenever we have an issue, we should be reaching out to our managers first and foremost, because they are supposed to be the subject matter experts on all of these systems that American Airlines has provided. So if you do have an issue, definitely click there and you're gonna find the contact information for your senior crew manager, your crew attendance manager, and your crew performance manager. And I will tell you, the two managers you're probably gonna use the most, or the most that you probably will be contacting, are your CPMs and your CAMs, okay? As soon as you do send that email, I want you also to CC in your base reps. That should be a given all the time, because in that way, you have included them, you have CC'd in the people that can watch over what's going on, right? And if you don't get an answer, you're definitely gonna follow up. But then if we see they still have not followed up, we can then follow up, right? Because then we're all on the same thread. And I will tell you, sometimes managers will reply to you only. And if you see that, I want you to CC us back in. Make sense? So let's move forward with Crew Portal. I think Crew Portal is pretty simple for us to follow, but I'm gonna ask you one question now. Have you all realized that there are certain pieces of information that aren't on Crew Portal yet? So think about it, and when I get to the next part of my topic here, then we'll talk about it later, but I just want you to think about it. Yes? It's also in there? Yes. So definitely please look at your Crew Portal. Guys, it's all about clicking and using the links and just using information that's actually there. Okay. Let's move on to our electronic communication system, or ECS. That is the newest tool that we actually have. Okay, I know most of us have already been using this. Basically, this is how AA can communicate with us and how we can communicate with them through basically a chat, right? Because we all know that in AirOps, getting through to them is kind of difficult, right? Through the phone numbers, so we can use our ECS. Now, I just want you all to remember, please make sure you set up all of your alerts or anything that's available on ECS. Basically, you're gonna go to the top, right here under your little person, and you're going to set up your alerts or your notifications. Please make sure they're all turned on, because I know basically it's sent to your EFB and it's sent to your email. I wanna make sure that all of you have set them up for you to receive them at your personal device or your SMS text messages. That's the most important thing, okay? Moving on to mobile CCI. So CCI, we know it is the mobile version of basically Crew Portal and DECS put all together, right? Now, I know DECS is kind of scary to look at, because I know you're all afraid to look at it. But I will tell you, it is a wealth of information. And I'm gonna also tell you, as a base rep and your base reps that are out there, we ask that you please, when you have a question about your schedule or anything that's currently going on, we ask that you please send us your HI3 or your HI1 or anything that involves your schedule, because Crew Portal, again, remember I told you, it's just pretty to look at. Because all of the information that we actually need to be able to tell you if you're pay protected, have you been removed, or do you have a missed trip, it's actually on your HI1. So again, for us to help you, please help us by sending us those screenshots of your HI1, your HI3s, your HI2. Now, you can find your HI1s and HI3s in CCI if you click on the More button at the bottom here. Okay, and then this screen will populate, you will have input required and HI commands. So the top 3 HI commands that I want you to remember is your HI1, which is basically your current month schedule. Basically, that's what you see on your Crew Portal, right? I know there's always a few questions of what is this HI1 and what is HI2? HI2 is either last month's schedule, and as soon as we're ready to go into PBS, then it switches to your new month, okay? Now, the next one is your HI3. That is basically your current sequence information. Remember, these are all the things that we want you to send to your base reps when you have questions. And all of this you can find in CCI. Moving on to input required. This is where you're going to find your NS. Basically, this is your crew list. Sometimes you basically want to pull up your NS or your crew list when you do sign in for your trips. Did you know that you have a cross-check of knowing when you actually signed in for your trip? When you pull up your NS, you look next to your name, you're going to see a little asterisk. That confirms that your sign-in has gone through. So if you have not started to check your NS as soon as you signed in, that might be a new habit you might want to create. Now, the next thing, your HSS, that is your sequence information. So if your HI3, remember, that is your current sequence info. If you've already passed that time frame and you need to go back and look up sequence information, then you're going to go and do it with HSS. The next one is JPX. That's when you're out there flying, especially as a number 1. This is your flight attendant briefing, okay? And then the one at the very bottom, GildaSWAD. Everybody was laughing at this one. Not a lot of people know about GildaSWAD. But basically, if you're a standby, this is probably, especially at the end of the night, this is the entry that you want to type in and see if there are any remaining departures, and are you going to be free to go home? Or, you know, right? So GildaSWAD. Moving on to MyView. MyView can be found in Crew Portal, right? Your MyView is basically the information that managers have of your attendance and your performance record. This is for you to constantly be reviewing and checking. We need to start getting into the habit of checking this on a regular basis. If it needs to be before every trip, that works for you, do it. If it's every week, then check it every other week, but please check it regularly, because this is where you're going to see how many points you actually have in attendance. It even will show you where your how many bank points you have. And I know that's like a big question with our new hires. Am I going to get a bank point? When can I use that? Remember, bank points as a new hire, while you're on probation, you cannot use it until after you've completed your probationary period. You can earn them while on probation, but you can only use them after you've completed your probationary period. Then, of course, you have your performance. This is where you see everything. So this is why we want you to check, because discrepancies can happen, right? They can put in the wrong employee number, the wrong information. So you definitely want to be on top of your MyView and just know what's going on. And if you see a mistake, we're going to go to Crew Portal, reach out to your CAM, reach out to your CPM and say, hey, I think there's a mistake here. Can we look into this and let's get this figured out now, as opposed to 6 months down the line or even a year? Because I will tell you, I do see this. So the sooner you catch it, the sooner it can be fixed. And remember, you're going to always CC in who? Your base reps, okay? So let's talk about DECS again. Remember, I told you DECS gives us the information that we need, be it your HI1, your HI2, your HI3. It's all about removal codes, add codes on apfa.org. If you go here to your resources tab, At the very top, you're going to see the DECS add removal code section where you can actually type in these removal codes and add codes that you see on your HI1, and it will tell you what it means. Not only does it tell you what it means, it even tells you if it is a paid removal. That's a big question that we get a lot. Okay, now your HI1s. Remember I asked you earlier with Crew Portal. What are some things that you've noticed that aren't on Crew Portal that are actually on your HI1? Do you happen to know one? Your PNC, that's a good one. We all want to know if we're getting paid extra money, right? Now, in addition, your reserve call out of time. Do you think you want to know that as a reserve when you're going to time out with the company? It's on your HI1. Do you see why you need to be looking at your HI1? In addition, this is the big one. How many of you have actually had a missed trip and you didn't know it? It happens a lot, okay? Why? Because if you get a missed trip, that is not reflected in either Crew Portal or your CCI schedule. It only shows in your HI1. So if it hasn't happened to you, just know it happens. And we've had many meetings where some of our flight attendants have not acknowledged their reserve trip for the next day, and they have a missed trip and they didn't even know it. So again, that is the importance that I need everyone to really start learning how to read your HI1. Again, I know it's scary because it looks like a whole other language, but if you look at it carefully, it's basically a calendar, right? With all of the sequence information, it tells us the history of the trip, the pay protections. There is so much information. At the very top, do you see the little circle here? It says remove and add. That's a good question. Yes. So everything under the add column would be all the addition codes, and everything under the removal code or the removed column is then all your removal codes. Very good question. And here's the last one. One thing that we did notice at a lot of new hire meetings back in Miami. One of my base reps did create this little chart for everyone. Basically, it tells you what system you can find what. Because we would notice that they would ask them, oh, is this in my Crew Portal? Oh, wait, is this in my CCI? This little chart kind of tells you where you're going to find things that I think will be very useful for those that are still a little confused of where to find things. There you go, Jade.
Okay, so I'll be covering all these topics from all the questions we receive at Contract Scheduling Desk, at base, or for all these people who doesn't like to use the search function on social media. So first thing first, reserve responsibilities. Rota run one time only and one run the day before. So it runs at 3 o'clock. And by 7:30, they should give you before 7:30, they need to give you an assignment. And once you have gotten an assignment, if you got a wrap, there's nothing you need to do. If you got a standby or a sequence, please be sure to acknowledge your trip at Crew Portal. And you must acknowledge it before 10:30, your home base time. If you are on a sequence or on a standby, in this case, you have it till 1 hour after your release. So let's say that your sequence actually ends at 11 o'clock at night. You have it till midnight before you have to acknowledge your sequence. Again, you can find the acknowledge box in Crew Portal next to the calendar under your FOS screens. And please make a habit, once you have acknowledged it, go to ECS and open up the message, expand on the detail, and make sure you have seen acknowledged by flight attendants. That is the double check you need to do to be sure that you have acknowledged. We've had it before where flight attendants said they have acknowledged the sequence, but they ended up getting a missed trip, and they know they have, but because there's no way to prove it unless you have seeing that you acknowledge it or unless you have video recorded. So it's hard to, we don't want the extra hassle. So just make sure, go to ECS and double check. Then we move on to Rota D. Rota D is daily. Anything after Rota A is all Rota D assignment. So main thing about Rota D daily is if you are on a wrap and your wrap starts before 4:59, scheduling must make phone calls to tell you that you have an assignment. If your wrap starts after 5 a.m., including 5 a.m., you will have to wake up and to check if you have assignment on Crew Portal. Afterwards, scheduling will just need to call you to notify you of an assignment unless you have electronically acknowledged the trip. And again, it will be same box will pop up on Crew Portal, and please again make a habit of double checking your ECS to be sure you have acknowledged it. In this case, this flight attendant was on Wrap C in Dallas. Wrap C in Dallas starts at 10 o'clock. So it was assigned to her, delivered to the app at 9 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock sharp, the flight attendant checked her schedule on the Crew Portal, and it was acknowledged. So let's move on to a more serious topic, wrap out of base. This is very important. You must be at base for your entire wrap. To touch upon about the calls, if you miss calls from scheduling, you have 15 minutes to call them back. And once you have acknowledged the trip, you have either 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on where you're based, to report to the airport. So the main thing is, if you are on wrap, you must be at base, especially for commuters. You will have to arrive to base prior to the start of your wrap. I'll have slides to talk more about commuting. A lot of times what we see is there are commuters that just wanted to wait it out. They ended up called in sick when they got a trip. And the thing is, the company will do audits. So once you get audited and they realize you were actually not at base, there will be disciplinary that will be very harsh for the flight attendants. It could result into terminations. So if you know you're sick, just call in, and you must be at base prior to the start of your wrap. And if you know you are sick, just call out. Don't wait till you got an assignment. And again, for all the reserve resources, I definitely do recommend going into on-the-job reserve resources. Just read through everything. It definitely has wealth of information. And move on to report time versus gate scan. There's some confusions for that. Basically, for report time, this is the ECS message that I cropped. Here's the sequence and report at 9:07. That is the time you have to report to the airport and sign in via CCI or using DECS in operation. If you did not sign in and it passes the grace period, you will get a late report. And that's an attendance issue. So for gate scan, it talks about the onboard requirement. That's when per 11M for domestic, 14F for international, you have to be on board and be ready to receive passengers. When you scan in late, which causes the delay at the gate, that's an FA4 delay, and that's a performance issue. And when that happens, your crew performance manager might reach out to you, and in that case, respond and CC your base rep. One thing I would like to point out is in the in-flight manual, it actually says do not scan your AAID until you're ready to proceed down to the jet bridge and physically to board the aircraft. However, we do know that for us, in general, we don't really run super on time from time to time. So when that happens, we might already be there and the boarding monitor is saying boarding in 3 minutes, but there's still passenger coming off the airplane. There's no way for you to scan and be ready to board the aircraft. In this case, my recommendation is to take a picture of the boarding monitor. This is the picture I've taken myself when I'm at the gate working the flight. I take a picture and I put the picture onto Teams chat and say, flight attendant is present at gate and will scan on once all inbound passengers are deployed and crew gets off the aircraft. So it shows that I am already at the gate. I am ready to work, but it's just the time is not there yet and the passengers are still deplaning. You just have to keep a record of it in case if anything comes back, your performance manager go, why did you scan in late or anything? You can let them know that you have already noted in Teams and they can go check. Documentation, again, is very, very important. So take a picture of it, note it in there, and once the last flight attendant gets off, ready to scan on. Sometimes when I'm number one, I would even just say, I've scanned on, we're doing checking, cleaner is still on. I make note of everything. So let's move on to the attendance policy. Again, this attendance policy is a company policy. It is not a contractual language. To find the attendance and performance policy is under crew portal, department, in-flight admin, resources, attendance and performance policy. The latest version is October 2025. I highly recommend everybody read through it. For any additional questions, reach out to your CAM via email and CC your base representation. So I'm just going to go through very briefly and in a broad way. For 1 to 6 days, sick is only 1 point. It has to be consecutive. You cannot work in between. If you call in sick for 2 days and you work and then you call sick for another 2 days, that's considered 2 separate events. So it would be 2 points total. If you called in sick for 7 or more days, it will be 2 points. There's also definition in the attendance performance policy under page 12 that talks about sick contact. Basically, if you're on RAP and they give you an assignment and you call sick right then and there, that is additional 1 point. And we also have late notification of absence. Basically, if you call in sick within 2 hours or 3 hours of departure, that is also additional 1 point. And we also have late report. You do get first one free contractually for rolling 12 months. And afterwards, you will get 1 point, occur 1 point every time there's a late report. For any missed trip, automatically 2 points. Again, any discrepancy with your points, please contact your CAM and CC your base rep. Also note that your base rep does not have access to your MyView. So if you're going to have any discrepancy with your points, screenshot your MyView and then include it in the email. That way your base rep can kind of see what you're talking about. I want to expand a little bit more on late report. If you get short call, let's say if you're on RAP-C and you get called at 11 o'clock for a 12 o'clock report. Most likely crew scheduling will say, I'll make a note, I'll adjust your sign-in, or I will waive your sign-in, along the line of that. Once you receive the call, you have 2 hours or 3 hours to report. Once you get there to the airport and you report it, let's say it is after the original sign-in time. Definitely double check your HI-10M to make sure that if the LR is coded or not. If the LR is present, email your CAM right away, CC your base rep, and let them know that you got short called. Let your CAM know they can pull the tape and you will like the LR to be removed. Another thing about LR is for reserve flight attendants. If you receive a missed trip, and again, like Alba said, missed trip doesn't show on your crew portal calendar. It only shows on your HI-1. So make sure you acknowledge your trip at the beginning of the wrap if your wrap starts after 5 o'clock, including 5 o'clock. If you did not acknowledge, or when scheduling called you, you did not call back within 15 minutes and you got a missed trip, immediately call scheduling back, ask to be placed back on wrap, bid any trip aggressively. Once you operate a trip, your missed trip will be reduced to an LR. And again, this is a last measure thing. I don't recommend keep using it. Keep in the back of your head, check your trips, acknowledge your trip, pick up the phone when you're on wrap. Don't let it keep going into a missed trip, because when you have to bid for any trip that's an open time. So to kind of talk about the HI-10M, you can go under your CCI, click more, HI commands, and HI-10M. It will show all the sick, late report or anything under your attendance. That's where your attendance occurrence is. Or the other way to look at it will be My View. Go on Crew Portal, links, My Information, My View. When you go to the My View page, each point and bank points, there's a hyperlink. You can click on the hyperlink. It will tell you when and how you occurred these points. And also the bank points, when you click on it, it will show you where your bank points was used. So a lot of times people will call and be like, I don't know why I get this point. Just click on it, it will tell you. And if there's any discrepancy, screenshot that, send it to your CAM right away, and CC your base rep. So 25L2, personal day policy. A lot of people like to ask about PO. Things happen. You do get 2 personal days per rolling 12 months. And it is only to be used in event of emergency. Personal days are unpaid, uncredited, so if you use it for reserve month, it will deduct your guarantee. To ask for PO, you first call crew scheduling and let them know you will like a PO. You don't have to tell them why. And scheduling based on the operational coverage, they will either say yes or no. If they do grant you a PO, then make sure you follow up with their CAM and let them know why, and just to let them know that you requested for a PO and CC your APFA base rep. If crew scheduling denies the PO and you really, really need that day off because of emergency, you can contact Crew Service Center, Daily Ops, or your manager to request for a personal day. At that point, they will need to have you will need to tell them a reason. And once, if they grant you, again, make sure you follow up with your CAM, let them know that you requested for a PO. So that's about personal day policy or PO. Also, one more thing. Can you travel while on PO? Technically, no. You have to remember travel benefit is a benefit. So it kind of correlates with company policy. If you have any question if you can travel or not, email your manager or ask the MOD to ask for permission. You rather ask rather than have your privilege be suspended. For PO, you definitely will need to ask for permission. So we move on to Direct Connect. This is all the things that you can file Direct Connect for. One thing I would like to highlight is the hotel delay pay. Please be sure everyone must submit hotel delay pay. It used to be a lot of stuff that only FA1 has to file it, then it will apply for everybody, but hotel delay pay is not one of them. It's unfortunately the company's policy that, not company policy, the company stance that everybody must submit one. We don't agree with it, but we do want everybody to get their money, so everybody must submit a hotel delay pay claim. The other thing about TTS UBL ETB award, miss award, if you suspect any miss award, be sure to go to support tab first and submit a support tab, a ticket to let them know that this happened, and follow the 10T miss award process and file a direct connect within 96 hours. There is a contractual language, it's under section 10T that talks all about it. Highly recommend the read, and it will help you to make sure that you are following the process correctly. The other thing I know a lot of people are asking about paychecks and all that. Any questions with paycheck, my recommendation is to email Payroll Service Center, PSC, Payroll Service Center at AA.com. Any questions about your paycheck, email them first. They're actually really good at explaining things. I have personally emailed them before, asked them questions, and asked them to be sure that I'm paid correctly. They'll be happy to answer all these questions. So back to Direct Connect, this is how you access it under Crew Portal, links, compensation, and Direct Connect. There are unfortunately, no contractual timeline for the company to process Direct Connect tickets. It can take a while from time to time. Please be sure to check the page regularly for updates. They don't email you when they need any information or if they have any updates. They will only post it on the Direct Connect page. You can respond to the ticket to follow up. Let's say that you file a ticket, you haven't heard anything back yet. You're more than welcome to send a message and say, hey, I would like to check up on what's going on with this ticket. You can also email your senior crew manager and CC your APFA base rep. Another way is to also call 1-800-VIP-CREW option 4. That goes to pay compensation. You can also call them and ask. But I do recommend have everything in writing, so that way there is a timestamp in case of any discrepancy. So let's move on to commuting. For commuting, documentation is everything. Let's talk about the contractual part first. The commuting flight attendant must make all reasonable efforts to make it in crew base 1 hour prior to scheduled check-in or the start of reserve availability period. So for instance, if you're Dallas on RAP C, starts at 10 o'clock, you must be at base prior to 9. And also, please be sure to designate yourself as a commuter, because if you do not, the commuter policy will not work on you. And to designate yourself as a commuter, just do comply 365, my form, AAFA commuter city change request form. If you're using EFB, please make sure to sync after you submit any form. So for this case, if you have a trip, let's say I am a Dallas-based flight attendant commuting from Chicago. I have this trip, 2-day 1-1 San Francisco, sign in at 8:30. You will have to arrive at base before 7:30. So when we look at the travel planner, there are 2 flights I am qualified for. The first one is 2:57 departure, arrive in Dallas at 5:33. Or the second flight will be 3:54, arrive in Dallas at 6:30. These are all the flights that arrives in Dallas before 7:30. There is one flight here, flight 2499, departs from Chicago at 4:57, arrive in Dallas at 7:33. I know sometimes this flight looks very tempting, because if we actually run a really good operation, you will get to Dallas before that. But we know Dallas, there are times we don't. So in that case, if this happens and this is the flight you take for your second flight, if you couldn't make it, once you submit the commuter recall form, this flight is not considered an acceptable flight because it is scheduled to arrive at Dallas at 7:33, which is 3 minutes after 7:30. So for your sanity, I would recommend not cutting too close and definitely make sure it is scheduled to arrive prior to 7:30. So for commuter policy, again, you can travel on AA or other airline for this new contract. We have a first flight is cancellation, equipment downgrade or delay. Make sure you screenshot the priority list at check-in. And if you are present at the gate, please be sure to take a picture of the gate monitor where you are on the standby list, the boarding pass and everything. Just take pictures of everything. And only the second flight is when cancellation, 30-minute plus delay, or a full flight that is covered. First flight is cancellation, equipment downgrade, or delay. So definitely plan ahead. If you are running late, you can call scheduling and let them know. Only use ECS, unable to commute, if you are for sure not going to be able to make it. You can also call scheduling if you're will not be able to commute in. If you're on a sequence or on a RAB, they will remove you with a mistrip. And you have 7 days to submit the commuter recall form under Comply 365. Once again, once you submit it, and please make sure to sync your tablet for Comply. This is what it looks like on ECS for unable to commute. Again, please be sure to absolutely make sure that you won't be able to make it. One more thing to note, if you are removed or denied from occupying a jump seat due to weight restriction or an operative jump seat, and you miss your flight that you won't be able to get for your sequence, you do qualify under the commuter policy. Your first 3 unable to commute within the rolling 12-month period will be counted as unable to commute. It will be coded as an XI under your HI-10M. You won't get any attendance infraction. Just be sure to take all the necessary documentation and also submit the paperwork within 7 days. As we've talked, documentation is everything. Keep all the screenshots and pictures and include them in your email. When you email your base RAB, when you email your manager, you can please include your base RAB or appropriate APFA departments in the email thread. Again, like what Alba said, there are sometimes the managers will just reply to you and not reply to the APFA RAB. We know who they are. Just make sure you reply us back and keep us in the loop. Help us help you. So let's move on.
Hi, me again. Okay, so we went over a lot of information, a lot of scenarios, and a lot of frequently asked questions. I think that's the colloquial term. So I'm going to tell you how to start and who you need to contact when these situations arise. As Alba pointed out, the company and the management system are supposed to be the subject matter experts on all of these issues. So That being said, we all know that they are not always truly the subject matter masters. What do we call them? Subject matter experts? Experts. That's not always true. However, the way that the process has to start with the communication with the company. There are things that the company can only do for you that we literally cannot do. I cannot fix your schedule. I cannot pay you. I cannot book you a hotel. I wish I could sometimes, but I cannot. So we have to start those processes by communicating with the company. For scheduling errors, you're going to want to contact crew scheduling, crew tracking, hotel and limo, or the senior on duty. Attendance will be your CAM. Performance will be your CPM. Pay and operational issues, you're going to want to email your senior crew manager. IOD is going to be the Cedric process. Contract questions, APFA. System, specifically the contract and scheduling desk, or your base reps. System issues, direct connect, miss award, the miss award process, and then hotel transportation support. When you contact the company, specifically managers, as Alba said before, CC in your representatives every time. If your representatives are somehow accidentally CC'd out of that chain, CC them back in. If a manager tells you you cannot have a base rep or a representative on the phone with you, tell them that they are lying. That is not true, and that you can wait until I get an APFA rep on the phone to have a conversation with me. If your manager emails you and says, I just need to talk to you about something, 10 minutes, you say, absolutely not. If this is something that can result in any disciplinary action, and do not let them tell you a coach and counsel is not disciplinary action, then you can have a representative in the room or on the phone with you, and they have to wait, just so you know. Don't ever let them tell you that you can't talk to us or have us involved. That's union busting. That's bad. So when should you talk to us? When do we get involved when you guys are having these issues? My word of advice and my word to the wise is the sooner that we know what is going on, the better equipped we are to help you with the situation that you are in, preventatively. So if you have a feeling that you're going to get called in because something crazy happened, if you are getting rescheduled out the wazoo and you know something's not right, you want to reach out as soon as possible. That being said, we're not always going to be able to fix things in the moment. And there may be times where we tell you this is going to be you're going to have to fly it, and we're going to have to grieve it. We're going to have to work it out on the back end to get you some pay or to get you something for this stuff that the company is doing to you. But the sooner we are involved, the better we are equipped to help you throughout different processes. So instead of waiting and wondering when you should reach out, here are a few different things you might be thinking. If you're not sure where to start or which manager to contact, go ahead and ask us. If you believe the contract may be involved, heavy on that. Heavy on if you think that there's any sort of contractual violation at all, ask us, because we are the contract subject matter experts. That is true. If you are called into a meeting, obviously you're going to want a union rep there. This also in the past, like I said, those little phone calls, those little manager, oh, come into my office real quick, let me just talk to you. I've seen it happen, and that's why I'm going to say this. If you already had a conversation with your manager that I wasn't privy to, and then I'm pulled into a meeting, and the manager starts quoting themselves, but you didn't have a rep there, the company will always take the company's word over yours, period, end of sentence. So that is why you want us there, even if we're just listening, even if we don't say anything, I'm just on mute on the phone. That way I can say, no, I heard them say that, and you have a witness. Because the company will take the company's word over your own every single time, or another manager's word over yours every single time. I have yet to see them believe a flight attendant just for the sake of believing them. If you already tried reaching out, this is really common we see with direct connects, because as we said, there's no contractual timeline, so those take a while. And if you've already waited 2 weeks and you called crew comp and now you're twiddling your thumbs because they're twiddling their thumbs, go ahead and reach out, and we will guide you and see if we need to escalate it appropriately. And if you're not really sure who I contact, that is also a good time to reach out to us. We want to make sure that you guys are equipped to handle issues on your own without us taking the forefront, but that doesn't mean that we don't need to be in your corner supporting you while you do it. You can advocate for yourself under supervision, and we will be there to make sure that you know and feel confident in doing so. And yeah, once again, the sooner the better. The sooner you involve us, the better we can mitigate situations. Thanks. Yeah, the sooner the better, again. Okay, Jackie.
Thanks, everybody. Oh my gosh, we learned so much today. So let's do like a quick little recap, see what we got going on. Huge, huge, huge. ECS cross-check. And again, this Reserve Basics series was inspired basically because we've been seeing and getting a lot of meetings with management. And it really is mostly about the forgetting to acknowledge, or maybe not fully understanding how to acknowledge because maybe it wasn't gone over as many times. So huge ECS cross-check. And number 2, screenshots, timestamps. I mean, whatever it is, if you have the documentation, that is going to help your rep if you end up in a meeting. If you have documentation, it is so much easier for us to fight for you and win, as long as you do your due diligence also. And review my view regularly. So we talked about calling out sick. We talked about lates. If you are reviewing all of your information, if something happens where you get marked late because scheduling quick called you and they put a late on there and you didn't notice because it ate up your freebie, you know it, you can contact your manager and us, and then we can get that mitigated ASAP. Huge. Know where to find reliable information. So I think Kaya said this earlier, but we have been through so many contracts, so many mergers. We have people here that have years and years of experience. So their information might not be the most up-to-date, but where you can find the most up-to-date information is definitely on apfa.org and on Crew Portal. So the difference between those two is APFA will have some company content, but it's mostly contractual stuff. Anything that is company policy, you can find that on Crew Portal. And last but not least, always, always, always loop in your base rep, no matter what. If you send an email to your manager, if you think it's innocuous, CC us. Let us know what's happening, just so that we're in the loop. Nothing weird happens. If anything weird happens, we can step in. And if nothing weird happens, then great. All right, so now we've reached our Q&A portion. Thank you so much, everyone, for signing up and RSVPing. Yes, you sent in your questions, so we pulled some of those and prepared answers for that. And then we'll go after that to our live Q&A questions. So number 1, what are clicks? How do I earn them? So a click is you're going to be given 1 per calendar day. And it is for when you are assigned or awarded. So even if you bid for a trip, you will get 1 click per calendar day, whether you get that trip off of Rota, off of Rota D, or off of standby. So if you are serving back-to-back reserve months, now it's going to be per contractual month. So let's say contractual month, it's January 29th to the 30th. That's going to be in the January contractual month. January 31st and February 1st will be part of the February contractual month. If you get a 4-day trip on January 29th, you will have 2 clicks for the January contractual month and then 2 clicks for the February contractual month. This is also a very common question. Crew scheduling assigned me a trip before my wrap began. What do I do? So first and foremost, you always, always, always have 2 hours from when crew scheduling contacts you or from the start of your wrap to report to the airport. And notice it doesn't say till takeoff, till door closure, till blah, blah, blah. It's to report to the airport. And I know that maybe trips some people up, but it's vague for a reason. So you're going to hear a lot of things like you need to be through KCM at your 2 hours. Gray area, do your best to be there in a timely manner, but the contractual language is you are reporting to the airport. So huge. If you are not on wrap, you are not required to answer your phone. As soon as your wrap starts, then you have to check your wrap and acknowledge any assignments that have been placed on your schedule. Exception: if your wrap starts before 5 a.m., crew scheduling must call you to assign you a trip. You do not have to wake up at 5 a.m. to check your wrap. That is only if the wrap starts prior to 5 a.m. If you choose to, let's say you woke up at 4:45, you're stressed out about your wrap, or you're going to the bathroom, getting a glass of water, you happen to look at your phone, you see that you got an assignment, you do not have to acknowledge that because you are not on wrap. However, if you do choose to acknowledge it, crew scheduling will not call you. And then finally, this is going to be our closer for our prepared Q&A questions, and then we'll answer our live questions in a little bit. So what is something you wish someone told you sooner as a reserve? And I thought it would be cool if we get our reserve veterans over here to answer it for us. So.
Okay. Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, hi. Anyways, something that I wish that somebody had told me sooner as a reserve is that, and I said this already, but I'll say it again, 90% of what you need to know and the questions you have can be found on the APFA website. In fact, when you guys ask me questions and I don't know the answer, the website is the first place I go, and that's me. So I know that you guys can also use the website, and you should. And even if you're bored, just click through because the information on there is accurate and it is so easy to understand. They have flowcharts, they have diagrams for you visual people, for you people who prefer a more literary way of learning. They have it all written out in text. It is a phenomenal resource. I cannot express this enough. Yeah, and I will admit that I did not know about the website until after I was off reserve. So, okay, Bella's turn.
All right, so definitely for me it's on reserve. It's about all the tools that are now available to you as reserves. Remember Crew Portal when I was talking about Crew Portal? I hope you've already gone through that tab and seen all the actual reserve reports that you actually have. And especially the new one, the running report, that basically is like real-time reserve status of what's going on currently at your base. And not only can you pull up your base, you can pull up every base in the system and see what reserves are actually, what's going on with reserves, and definitely use those tools. I know they're a little scary because you're not sure how to use them, but just start looking. Basically at the top is the decoder, employee number, how many ASG clicks. Just look and just start clicking. You're not gonna hurt the system any more than anybody else will. Just click and play and there's actually videos, guess where? APFA.org has a lot of videos about these reports and a lot of things actually that you need. And I'm going to say one more because I did forget during my HI1. If you need to learn how to read your HI1, which is a question I keep seeing and reading about, there is actually a pay resource guide on apfa.org and Crew Portal. And I think there's a video someone said. So definitely it will teach you how to read your HI1 and your pay because it's all about our coins and our credits. So definitely do that.
Okay, so for me, I'm actually now a reserve veteran. I am on reserve this month, by the way. Just saying. I still have to serve. Again, because of that, remember they tell you in training to be a palm tree? They really do meant that. So please be a palm tree, and especially during IRA, we know how that goes, especially for reserve. You just, gotta be ready and everything. And also, no standing aggressive bid. Please delete that standing aggressive bid. Do not ever use it. If you use it, we won't help you anymore. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So my advice is read through the entire contract at least one time. It is so much easier to, after you have read something somewhere, you're like, oh, you know what? I think this is happening to me. This doesn't happen all the time. I feel like I read something about that. It's so much easier to like go back and reference what you need to know if you have read it. I mean, there's so much information in there. And if you are on straight reserve right now, not all of it is like pertinent to you. but it will, and it's a good foundation to just know all of that information. At the very least, read section 12 because that's a reserve section, and that is what you're living every day by. All right, so thank you so much for your questions in the chat. We're going to go over some live here. So somebody asked, how do I read my HI1? Is there a deeper dive? I'm so glad you asked. Yes. So we're going to go to Crew Portal, click right here, Departments, click on Contract and Guides, and then you're going to see this page pop up, right? This one. Just scroll down and you're going to see Pay Resource Guide. Click that. This will pop up. If you scroll down, it will go over not only your HI1 and what everything means there, but what your pay stub says, which is, you know, the most important thing. Will I know if I used my freebie late point? Will it show up on my view? Yes, it will. You will not get an email from your CAM unless you are on a level 1, 2, or a final warning. That's why it's super important for you to check your MyView regularly so that you can see if anything pops up there. If you did get quick called and it wasn't mitigated before it, you know, ate up your point, you can see that, send a quick email, CC us, and then you can see everything on MyView. So if you are late and you get the freebie, it will pop up there as a no point occurrence. And then you can see any sick calls on there too. Is there a list of common things we have to file direct connects on? So I tried to pull it up and the direct connect page is down. But do you want to?
So the previous, thanks, Jackie. The previous slide I have about direct connect. So here are all the things that's pretty common that you'll be filing direct connect under. So anything that doesn't look right on your HI1 or your HI2, which is for HI2 is mostly your previous month schedule. If there's any issues, then you file it under HI2. And then you're holding ground pay if you actually boarded an aircraft and then you were sitting there with the door open with the passengers, then you get holding ground pay. And of course, the hotel delay pay, because we got to get that money. There's also understaffing pay, any TTS, UBL, ETB miss award, stay late claim, or any issues with your pay protection. Also, your sit rig. If there's any sit rig, you can also file under direct connect. This is what I can think of off of the top of my head. Usually, that's what you can file under. There are some questions that's also like, should I file it or any of that? If you just file it, the worst comes to worst, they just deny it. And if there's any issues, we can take a look at it, or your senior crew manager can take a look at it if they have to. I mean, sorry, they have to. But just file it. That way there are no, you don't miss the timeline. There was one question about the hotel delay pay, if there is a time limit. My understanding is if there are any discrepancies, technically in contractual language, any discrepancy is 20 days. But I would say just file it. If anything, we reach out to your senior crew manager and CC your base rep. We can see like what we can do about that. But again, make sure you submit any hotel delay pay individually.
So another question that we got was, as a commuter on probation, ID90 doesn't work for probationary flight attendants. This is true. ID90 doesn't work. However, you are able to travel on airlines that we have jump seat agreements with. JetBlue should work if you go into ID90 and you click instead of, I don't know what it says instead of it, but there's a section where you click flight attendant commuting. Flight attendant commuting will allow you to list on JetBlue and I believe Southwest as well. While airlines like United and Delta, you have to list at the gate. So you just go to the airport, go through KCM as normal, and then go to the gate and say, hi, I'm commuting. I would like to list for this flight. You hand over your badge, they'll list you, and you'll go on your merry way. Yeah, commonly answered question. And I believe Alba did say that this information can be found on the apfa.org website as well. If you need a more, a more expansive description of this, the reciprocal jump seat agreement information can be found on the apfa.org website. Yep, I'm just looking at the questions.
How about let's go to our HQ guest. Did you have any questions?
Quick. Yes, Jeff? Oh, no, did you have any question? Yeah, wait. Please, say it louder for everybody at home.
Certainly, my takeaway is that from now on, I will utilize the resource of the APFA website, seriously. Especially, I hope they have a legend for the HI1 and how to understand the codes. They do, or
we'll show it to you. We have it on here. She's asking about how we can look at, sorry, she was asking about how we can look at the removal codes on your HI1 and how to know what the codes mean. So we're going to show the, yeah, it's on, if you go to hers, the DECS removal codes will be on Alba's slides. I know, apologies. You know, I could have probably clicked, yep.
Yeah, so that's a great resource. I actually do use that all the time because
all the time.
When I pull up my HI1, I don't remember what anything means. So on apfa.org, right here in this little circle, you just punch in whatever the add or removal code is, and then it will populate right here on the screen. So great resource. I use it literally all the time. Any other questions in the room?
Oh, I can answer that one. Yeah, so we saw a question in the chat that asks how you can access your previous month's HI1. That's your HI2. So, Jeff, am I wrong? Okay, phew, that would have been embarrassing.
I might dig a little deeper. So actually on the pay portal on JetNet is where you can access any, basically from when you were a new hire. You know, I won't say new hire, but depending on when you got hired, but from years ago all the way through now, if you go to the pay portal and you look for, you know, where you check your pay stubs, there's a tab for activity sheet, and that activity sheet will, one will populate for each month. So that's a good way to find previous month's HI1s.
But if you are just looking for literally last month, it is your HI2 until a certain period of the month, then it switches, but just in case.
Another good tool for accessing, so I think the question in the chat was about HI1s and then previous trips. So you can also go to look at your previous trip. So like, let's say you want to look up a trip that you did 6 months ago. You can go to Crew Portal, go to links. Somebody help me to make sure I'm getting the pathway right, but it links and then down to my information, my info. And then there is a link under my info that says crew sequence history. Click on that, you put the year in, the month, and then your employee number, and it will take you to that month's, the sequences that you flew for that month. Okay, so if you want to look at your crew sequence history, prior months crew sequence or history, the HI3s or the sequences that you flew, go to Crew Portal. Then you go to links, then go down to my information, and then click the little down caret there at my information. Click on my crew sequence history. And then once you get to the crew sequence history page, you will see it's loading. You will see a space where you can, a drop down where you can put in the contract year. So if it was, let's say it was from something earlier in 2026, click on the down caret and scroll down to 2026. Click on that, then go to the contract month. Let's say it was something in January. Click on January, and then where you put in an employee number, you would just click the down caret and put your own employee number. Hopefully that was slow enough.
Okay, so there's also one question about running reserve report. We actually have a hotline about that. Surprise. Contract implementation update number 35 that was sent out on August 21st of last year talks about CBA 12Q 1 to 7. So the running reserve report is available after the ROTA has run. You basically go to crew portal, reserve, running reserve report. That's where you can see what other people hold on ROTA after ROTA runs. It does take a little time to show, and they will display how many days each day are available, the clicks they have, their seniority, their RSVCOT calling out a time, their previous activity, and all that. That's usually where you go to after the ROTA has run. So you might see like, you bid for those trips and you go, why didn't I hold them? Or why couldn't I be on RAP or anything? You could see who held the trips and all that. There are special notes for the end of the month. You might be assigned into line month because this month takes priority over next month. So the display column might, show more available days instead of just one day available. And but the daily call report, it is still the same for ROTA. The running reserve report is just basically for after ROTA. I'm pretty sure I made a mistake because I just got stared at.
One thing the reserve running report is good for before ROTA, it gives you a snapshot of everyone who's going to be run through ROTA. So you can see how many people you're up against that are good for 3 days, 4 days, 2 days, 1 day, how many ASGs clicks they have, how many hours they have. So you can see where you fall if you're going to strategically bid in ROTA, like, ooh, there's a lot of people good for 4-day trips, where you would want to bid maybe a wrap, or if you can even hold a 4-day trip or a 3-day trip or turn. So you can see how many people you have up against. That's one good thing for the running reserve report prior to ROTA. But then after ROTA runs, you see everyone on there who's on a wrap. And then as they get assigned something or become unavailable, then their name goes off of that list. So you can really see this is all that's available today that I'm competing with, and you can see where you fall. So that's just an improvement.
So somebody in the chat asked, how do you access HI1? Can you go over it again? So on Crew Portal, once you log in, you'll see your FOSS screens. Tap that, and then the drop-down menu will show you current month schedule, HI1, last/next month. That's HI2, and then you'll see sick and vacation accrual also. You can also find this on mobile CCI. If you go to more, and then there will HI commands, and then it will show you what they all are, and then you can click from there. So again, we're super excited to kick off this Reserve Basics series. And so we had a lot of questions come in about bidding specifically, whether it's ROTA bidding or PBS. So we are excited to announce that we are going to do a ROTA and ROTA debidding class, and it will be on September 29th at noon Central Time. And then we have more classes coming up hopefully after that, but this is a lot of information to intake. So, we want to give everybody time to digest and then go from there. You can always also reach out to your base reps. You can also reach out to us if need be. And we're here to support you, support each other too. And thank you so much for joining us. Does anybody else have any last words? Final thoughts?
Before we close it out, we have the next 2 things planned going forward. If anybody else has any more last minute ideas or questions for future classes that we could teach, feel free to drop those in the chat and let us know what you guys would like to see and what you guys are hearing on the line that's specifically to reserves. And if you are a new hire, what you and your new hire friends are struggling with. We are starting this series to support both reserves and especially our new hire flight attendants because, as Jackie said in the beginning, we do see that you guys are targeted and treated to a much worse degree by the company, and we want to make sure that you have as many resources to protect yourself and your career as possible. Thanks.